hang up on something. You talked about how you, would show your receipts.
Right.
But what about someone who is maybe housebound and can't get to your office? Would you consider putting them online for folks?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's not a problem. Certainly. I mean, I think that that's the level of accountability that we need to reach. That that if you want to do a story at 9 o'clock at night, you shouldn't have to wait till the office is open in the morning. There should be a reference for that available.
How much do you expect to spend on the primary campaign?
Not a lot. It's very subdued fundraising, and probably if we topped out at somewhere in the range of 15 to 20, I think that's probably where it is.
20,000.
Yeah, yeah. It may be less.
And how do you plan to reach voters with that 10 to or 15 to 20? Is it advertising? Or is it mostly events, or are you actually knocking on individuals?
Oh, I'm knocking on individual doors. I think that a race like this lends itself to that process. Too often we become focused on, the media, the glitz of the media campaign, and we sell someone as a package, and the average voter has never met that person. I mean, obviously, unless you live in New Hampshire or Iowa, you're never going to meet, the next president. I mean, people in Pennsylvania, have a very rare opportunity of even seeing the next presidential candidate, because by the time the primary comes along, they've been packaged and sold as a brand by that time. I believe that this is of the nature that we should be out meeting people, introducing ourselves, having conversations with them. We represent our friends and our neighbors. We shouldn't allow some ad executive to decide what that means for us.
If elected, I guess there was some conversation about whether the district office would remain in Nanticoke. Do you have thoughts on that?
Yes, in my case, I definitely am committed to that because it's centrally located within the district. There is bus service that allows people to reach it. Excuse me. And excuse me. I think that that is just the perfect place for it.
Does the candidate from South Valley have a little bit of an advantage in this based on population? I mean, that's where the voters are.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you very much. I don't think so. I think that the voters are intelligent enough that they want to learn about the people in the race, and that they're not just voting for a homer because he's in the neighborhood. No, I mean, if he's an effective person in the neighborhood, that's fine and dandy. I mean, that may be the right choice, but the reality is that I think each one of us has had to make the case. There's a large west side, in this district. Mountaintop is also a part of the district. Fairview Township, Rice Township. I mean, the same argument can be made from the standpoint of, am I or is Gary, because he comes from the eastern reaches of the district. Do we have an advantage over Jerry in that respect? I was born and raised on the west side. Does that give me an advantage as a result of that? It's hard to tell. Anybody who tells you that they know is not seeing the same things I am.
Questions from the group right now?
Well, one thing, because, and I've done a lot of stories on Nanticoke and the redevelopment downtown,
right.
LCC moving in, and you did
Excuse me.
bring a lot of that in. I mean, he sort of partnered bringing LCC and all the other little components together. But if you're elected, I mean, would you try to maybe more even it out to make sure there are other projects within the district? Because here lately it seems to be really heavily on Nanticoke, but what about Mountaintop and, other...
Right, well, I think that one of the reasons why it seems so heavily Nanticoke centered is because they've had plans on the drawing board for a long time. That process, I believe, began several years ago, and in fact, through one of our study centers here, they really began the whole process of planning that downtown revitalization. Plymouth is in that process as well, and they are probably not as far along as Nanticoke, but they have begun that process. And I think that what people need to understand is, in order to do this and put the funding together to make sure that the project is successful, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that people don't necessarily get a lot of credit for, and that there's a lot that goes on before the first brick is laid. And the same thing in the Edwardsville community and where they are working on a revitalization as well on their main street. And so I think that each one of those projects is in a different stage, and we want to make sure that I certainly want to make sure that I work to bring those projects to completion. As far as the Mountaintop area, I think that we certainly need to do things that we've had some recent vacancies in the industrial park. I think we need to work with the Chamber of Commerce to make sure that we attract businesses to replace those businesses that have gone. I don't know that the economy has turned the corner yet, but I think we can probably see the corner from here. My experience has been in this business that oftentimes, Wall Street recovers much faster than Main Street, and some of that has already occurred, with a run up in the market. So it's a good sign. That is a leading indicator. Unfortunately, unemployment is a lagging indicator, and it takes a while for many of us to feel that things have kind of finally gotten some traction. And so I think that that's what we're feeling now. We're feeling just the kind of end of that process, and before we feel the beginning. So I think there's a greater sense of hope out there than we might give credit for right now.